This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. And we are at the Hartness Hotel tonight. This is a place I have never seen before. It's only been here for about a year. It's in Greenville off of Woodruff Road, and it is unbelievable. Beautiful, beautiful place. And you kind of feel like you're in another country when you walk in the gates of this place. We are here for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. This is the 11th annual enshrinement ceremony featuring the class of 2023, and we're going to be very busy from the get because we're going to have some guests joining us here very shortly, and it is a star-studded group that is going into the Hall of Fame, and plus there are other folks being honored tonight. The folks to be enshrined: Terry Allen, Ben Coates, Harold Green, Stump Mitchell, and the late Coach Jimmy Satterfield. And you have got the winner tonight who is here of the Blanchard Rogers Trophy, and that is Xavier Leggett, the Gamecock receiver. In fact, he's being interviewed on Channel 4 live right in front of us, and he will either spin over to us when he's done, and we'll grab him right away, or we'll going to have one of the inductees coming in here momentarily. Their presentation, their program begins at 6:30 with Coach Willie Jeffries serving as the MC. And so we've got to get our folks in here by about 6:30 tonight. So we're going to try to do that in the first half hour. Then, talk about other things that's going on, including the first round of the RBC Heritage at Harbortown. MJ Ward is there for us. JT Poston went out this morning and posted an 8 under 63. We'll hit up the leaderboard on that in just a little bit. And we got other news to pass along to you as well. Baseball to look ahead to. We'll hear from USC coach Mark Kingston. He's changed up the rotation for this weekend against Arkansas. Roman Kimball will get the start tomorrow night. Eli Jones will go on Saturday, and TBA on Sunday. So why don't we start at the very top with the man who was named the College Football Player of the Year in South Carolina, and he is going to receive the Blanchard Rogers Trophy tonight. I imagine George might be here to give it to him. He's a son of the PD, as am I. Yes, so we're both good-looking guys.
Oh, yeah. Mullins, South Carolina.
Mullins, auctioneer.
Oh, yeah.
Xavier Leggett, the Gamecock star, joining us. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, man. Congratulations on your season and everything else. Kind of, has it been like a dream for you?
Oh, yes, sir, man. That's all I ever wanted to do, man. It's just a little boy. That's the only thing I dreamed of, and it's crazy. I'm really living in the moment.
You came along during your Gamecock career,
oh, yes, sir,
and then you just blossomed last season. Why did it all come together, you think, for you last season?
Oh, man, just the availability and the opportunity. The reason why I say availability, man, I was dealing with a couple of injuries through my first couple of years at South Carolina. This season was the most healthiest I ever been. And then the opportunity, man, just the way how they moved me around in the offense gave me just multiple opportunities, man, and I was able to put everything on display.
Who on the staff obviously you work with Coach Stepp very closely and new offensive coordinator and Coach Loggins. Did they kind of work together with you to make sure they got you in the positions to get the football so you can make down the field plays?
Oh, yes, sir, man. It all just came and believed, man. They all believed in me. And, man, Coach D'Lo, man, he just dashed it up for me this year. And, he believed in me from the start when he first took the job to Carolina. And, man, everything he told me, man, he stood on it.
What did he see in you? What did he say he saw in you?
He told me he see an NFL caliber receiver. Yes, so he told me he was going to make sure that he was going to push me, and he did that. Yeah. He told me he was going to make sure he put the ball in my hand, and he did that.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so.
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of when you think of Spencer Rattler?
Spencer Rattler, man, I think of an animal, man. He's a dog, man. If you go back and watch the film, man, the throws that he got off this year, man, I'm going back to watch him, and I'm like, man, it's crazy how he did that, man. But his arm talent is crazy. I think his IQ on the field is outrageous, man. And just him as a person, he's a great person as well.
How much did he help you grow?
Oh, man, he helped me grow a lot, man. Just by him being vocal on the field, just the way how he came in the locker room, man, just the way how he approached the day every day.
Talking to Xavier Leggett, looking ahead to the draft and all that, you had a really good you've had a really good offseason in preparation for the draft. The feedback seems to be very good for you.
Yes, sir.
What's it been like talking to the teams, maybe making some visits? Where have you been to visit?
Oh, man, I done been plenty of places, man. I had 14 visits altogether, and I talked about half the league, man. Counting the visits and then the Zoom calls, and then I had about 2 workouts for teams. And, man, all of that combined, man, it probably been about 25 teams. But, man, I'm just enjoying the moment, man. This is everything I work for. And I'm happy to be with my feet on.
Does it feel like recruiting all over again?
Oh, no, so this ain't more. This ain't more so like recruiting now, man. It's more so tell me everything I want to know so I can be able to pay you the money.
This is business now.
Oh, yeah, strictly business.
This is business. So which team, have you got a feeling for which 1 or 2 teams likes you the most?
Oh, man, really, man, I say all the teams that I was able to meet with, I had a good vibe within all of them, man. All of them showing interest in me, and then they still calling for me to get on Zooms after I even talked to them about once or twice in person. So that tell me I'm doing something good.
Give us some of the teams.
Man, we can go to Kansas City Chiefs. We can go to Bills. I talked to Detroit. I talked to Baltimore, Jacksonville, the Buccaneers, the Chargers, the Eagles. Man, we can go on and on, but I talked to a whole lot.
Yeah.
So
round-wise, what are you hearing?
Oh, man, I'm hearing mid first round, early second round.
Wow. How about that? First
yeah.
round. What would you think first round?
Oh, man, first round, man. That sets me up for my life, man. But, man, not only I don't even think about it like that, man. I just want to continue to grow, man, within this league. And then just keep continuing to ball.
So what are you doing between now and the draft?
Oh, man, well, I'm just continuing to work out so I can be in shape for rookie minicamp. So I can go out there and blossom and keep flourishing all the way through this process.
When you think back to last season, was there a particular catch, particular play stands out in your mind?
Oh, I say the big catch I had in the Georgia game. I think that was really when I put everybody on notice, when they really was like, yeah, we got to go check this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's the one that did it.
What was special about that catch that you recall?
Man, just the way how I went up and attacked the ball, man. The mentality that I play with, any ball that's in the air, any 50-50 ball, man, I like it the more so be if it is mine. Yeah, so.
When you think back to your life in Mullins, did you live in Mullins or out in the country?
No, so I lived in Mullins.
You lived in the city of Mullins.
Yes, so I mean, you make one left turn, one right turn, you'll be on the dirt road.
Man, we grew up 16 miles apart, okay,
yes,
down Highway 917, so we know our area. As a kid, though, coming up, I mean, when did you start taking football seriously? When did you realize it? Because you were an athlete, right?
Yes,
I'm sure you did everything at Mullins.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, I was a 3-sport athlete at Mullins, man. But I say when I started taking football very serious will be the end of my sophomore year in Mullins, man. I started getting interest from a couple teams. And that was when my mindset changed for me.
Was there somebody there, a coach or a family member or somebody that said it worked with you, kind of took you aside and said, you got some special talent here?
Oh, man, this was everything I wanted to do. I never wanted to do anything else, man. So this is all I had my mind focused on. I never let any outside noise get to me, man. And, man, when the Gamecock recruit came to my school in my sophomore year, I knew I had to take this thing serious.
So when you first started getting recruited by South Carolina, your sophomore year, who was that? Who was the recruiter?
I can't even really remember the recruiter, man. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
that would have been back during the Muschamp days, I guess.
Yes, so Muschamp was the one that recruited me there.
Yeah.
And Coach Brian McClendon.
When you got your offer, what did you think?
Hey, man, this is just another opportunity for me, man. I'll be a step closer to the NFL.
Yeah. Anybody else I can't remember. Who else did you consider strongly?
Tennessee.
It was Tennessee?
Tennessee, yes, sir. Coach Jeremy Pruitt and Coach Rump.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
South Carolina and Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
But you wanted to stay home?
No, sir, no, man. They was just the ones that I felt had the most interest in me, man. I feel like I built a relationship with Coach Brian McClendon and Coach Muschamp. And, man, just the game day atmosphere at Carolina, man. And then I wanted to play the in-state rivalry against Clemson as well.
Yeah.
So, man, that was part of the reason why I stayed home.
Can you believe how much college football has changed in the, 4 or 5 years you were in college?
Yes, sir.
I mean, think about it. You came in just prior to the start of all the transitioning with the NIL and the free agency now, the transfer with no penalty.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about college football in the future now that you've been through it?
Oh, man, and the way how I see it, man, it can kind of go up and down, man. Like, you really not going into the seasons, you really not going to know what team is going to be the best team anymore, man. It's very interesting.
What do you think of the Gamecocks in 2024?
Oh, man, I think they're going to do great, man. They have great players. The quarterback, Lenore Sellers, man, he's an outstanding player, man. If I had another year, I may go back and play with him.
You think he's got the goods?
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt, man. He has the arm talent, man, and he can run it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We're going to let you go so you can roam around and see folks.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, man. I tell you,
appreciate it.
Fantastic year for you. We're going to be watching very closely, a couple of weeks, week and a half?
Yes, sir.
Hope to hear your name called soon.
No doubt.
I'll say this, when not that I'm an expert or anything like that, though I like to think I am, when Deebo Samuel came through, I said, if you don't take him in the first round, you're an idiot.
Yes, sir.
Well, if they don't take you in the first round, they're an idiot.
Yes,
Whoever
sir.
who needs a receiver passes on you, they're going to regret it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
Great seeing you. All right, Xavier Leggett, the former Gamecock star, and that accent will take him a long way. You will recognize him no matter where he goes, man, because that is Harold Green. Come on over if you would. Harold Green, you're up next on Sports Talk. Here comes one of the all-time greats. Yeah.
Before Harold jumps on, if you can you check in, try to get your video feed working? I'm sure our listeners would love to be able to see you guys as opposed to Josh and I just staring at the camera. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it stopped on me there.
No problem.
Focused on Mr. Leggett, trying to understand. He's sort of that is not a PD accent that he has. That sounds almost like he's from Charleston or something. Let's see what Harold Green sounds like.
What we got? Let's do it.
He lives in Columbia now, though.
Oh, is really?
You.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you. It's great to see you.
Yes, sir. You
Congratulations,
too.
man.
Appreciate it.
Going into the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. How's that feel to you?
It feels awesome. It's good to be recognized, and I'm very humbled and honored.
Man, I remember you coming out of high school down at Stratford.
Don't tell my age, Phil.
Stratford, Ray Stackley, right?
That's right.
I saw Coach Stackley at the coaches' clinic back in February. He looks great. But you were following the George Rogers era at South Carolina, and you kind of stepped in and filled that gap. And what do you recall about your days at South Carolina and then moving on to the NFL?
Well, first of all, Coach Morrison lied to me, and I was told that I was going to be the next George Rogers. It was going to be Harold left, Harold right, Harold up the middle. And when I got to South Carolina my freshman year, they put on some Canadian football film. And I said, well, where's the running back? And he said, oh, don't worry about that. He's out, split out wide. And I said, well, that's not the I formation. I do know that. But
were
nonetheless,
they joking with you?
Yeah, we were. It was all in good fun.
Yeah.
But it was actually to Frank Sadler, who was the offensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah.
Remember Frank?
Yeah.
So, but it was good times. Never missed a beat. I think that it was absolutely what I was told. I was going to be able to play immediately as a freshman, true freshman, and that usually was unheard of back then for a lot of guys to come in to college football, D1, and play. And of course, we weren't in the SEC at the time, so we played any and everybody.
Yeah, and you played on that carpet.
No. We had grass.
Did they?
Yeah, we had grass.
You had grass there?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got rid of the turf.
Okay.
Right around, I want to say, 83.
Okay.
The Sterling, I think, got there.
That's good for you. That's good for you.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Williams-Brice, always, still to this day, the best stadium to play in the country.
What did you feel like under Coach Morrison in that offense, the things that you guys did with you What worked for you? What clicked for you in that offense?
Well, obviously, I didn't know what to expect. I was told I was going to come in and contribute right away, which was important. At the same token, it didn't matter to me either way, whether it was the eye or the run and shoot or the pro style of an offense that we see today. You know, we still see the West Coast. A lot of teams are getting acclimated to that. I don't care what conference, what division that you're playing in, but I felt like I could play, and the coaches felt the same way immediately.
Who were you teamed with in the backfield?
Anthony Smith was a senior. He got hurt his knee his junior year, redshirt senior year. And when he got hurt, Greg Welch came in the year before me,
right.
And then Greg hurt his knee. And unfortunately, they were back looking for another big back because they knew they were going to have a back that they needed to be able to stand in there and block, as well as run the football and catch. So those three things I thought I did very well, and it worked out.
So it was, let's see, you had Todd at quarterback.
Todd.
You had Sterling.
Ryan Bethea.
That team, those teams
they were
loaded.
Good.
They were loaded offensive teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we contended. We gave Miami a scare for the national title in '87.
Yep.
We beat Clemson, which was a top 25 team, if you would, maybe higher than that. I'm pretty sure. So.
And y'all were on your way to a big season in. Was it 87, 88? When
87, 88.
Todd got hurt?
Yeah. Todd got hurt his redshirt senior year, my junior year.
Yeah.
No, my senior year, his redshirt senior year. He got hurt his knee, and unfortunately, what a way to, well, it's not a way, but it's definitely a reminder, of just how good life is, how shortcomings come about, playing the game that we play so violent, and you just never know. You just always, coaches remind you play, like it's your last.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was something unpreventable for him that he got his knee hurt, because I think he would have went on to the pros and had a pretty good career.
And y'all would have gone on, I think, to have a great season.
Absolutely.
I want to say he got hurt against NC State, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say in Raleigh. Weren't y'all playing in?
No, it was home.
It was home? Okay.
I recall it was home, but I don't know if it was. And I'm not sure, because I remember it was Coach Al Groh, I think that came in as our coordinator, said that you guys aren't going to play much, because I think it may be in Western Kentucky or East Carolina, somebody like that. Don't hold me to that.
Yeah,
but I think that may have been.
I can look it up in the record book. The run and shoot that you guys ran, I mean, such a fun offense in that day.
Sure. I mean, a lot of teams, you think about it, they didn't care to try to exploit those things. You need great receivers. Obviously, you need a great quarterback that can throw the ball, that can decipher secondaries. You got a lot of tools out there. We had some good receivers, and we had good running backs as well. Yeah. Not along myself, Kevin Jones. Greg was coming off of the knee, of course. Ken Watson came in the same year I did from Titusville, Florida.
When did Mike Dingle come?
Mike Dingle came a year after. And Mike still thinks somehow or another that I said, well, Mike, you chose the school. I said, and you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I said, just I'll get out of your way in a year's time. Just think of it that way.
He thought he was going to come in and be the man.
No, I'm not going to say that. I think based on based on the body of work, he was a big back. He was explosive. He had great speed to be his size, and I just think he was like I felt. He wanted to stay close to home where his family could come see him play, and there was nothing wrong with it. And I told him, I said, man, you made a great choice. And we're going to work together, and we're going to be on a winning team, and we're going to do the best. We're going to help each other.
But was there a little rivalry there? I mean, you guys were rivals in high school.
I was the starter. Where was the rivalry at? I'm just teasing.
I know. I hear you.
That's my homeboy.
I hear you.
That's my homeboy.
Is Sterling presenting you tonight?
Yes.
So What was the relationship like with Sterling on the team?
Oh, man. It was always, actually pretty serious when it came to, X's and O's on the field. But off the field, I don't think we've ever had an argument in 30-plus years.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes, I think, to who he is and speaks volumes to the comfort level that I have and just knowing myself of having a friend that long.
Yeah.
So that's why he's my presenter. He
Yeah.
can always say a whole lot of good things about me and be very forgetful about some bad things. But,
Right.
but I don't think we ever had any. Obviously, we just get along, and he was one of the guys that kind of opened his arms and took me under the wings and said, hey, work out this way. We do things this way. Make sure you get your study hall hours in. Along with quite a few other guys that we were all in the same dorm. So obviously he was our
Go-to
our watchdog,
Yeah.
in a sense, but
Yeah.
also big brother.
You are in Columbia now?
Yes,
Doing
I'm retired.
done.
Done.
Doing done.
Doing done.
What did you do before you were done?
I was in the car business. Probo Motors is
Okay,
was a
yeah.
car business. Myself and,
yeah.
and Sterling. And,
Yeah.
We started it, actually talking about it in my basement at home after I'd finished. He said, we're going to do something together.
Yeah.
And we decided that, little did we think it was going to be, going into the car business because neither one of us knew anything about it. But we had a good partner. We made a run at it for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And, we got our first dealership in Pittsburgh, McKeesport, Pittsburgh, in about 4 years. We started on Lady Street, which we were leasing a little office space, little room for cars from Ben Arnold, and it went well. For what it was worth. I guess I could stick a feather in our cap and say we were the first retailers on Lady Street, and now today it's flourishing as the Vista and doing very well, thriving.
I remember it well. So before we let you go, how satisfied are you with what you did in football from your young days through high school to South Carolina, capping it in the NFL? I mean, you reached the very top. You reached the pinnacle. Could you have seen that?
Oh, no, definitely not. My whole persona and objective was to get to South Carolina, get a good education. My family background's Air Force, so we were a military family that traveled every 2 years. And I wanted to get an education so I can stand on my own 2 feet, become independent, learn a great industry in business, possibly insurance, and play some hard-nosed football, which I think that was accomplished on that level. Little did I know that things would turn out favorable for me, and God's always been number one in my repertoire as far as going to my faith and believing in myself, and I just got surrounded with really some good coaches and some great players.
Fantastic. Last thing. You players now, who went through college the way you did, and you were treated the way you were treated. How do you view the new era of college sports now with complete free agency and pay for play?
I'm favorable for it. Okay. One reason, and I think I'm not going to quote, but I remember recalling hearing Steve Spurrier say he was for it, before he finally ended his coaching career. Quite a few other coaches stood in and said that, players should get paid, and not to pay to play, but before the opportunities such as going to class and academically. I know the NCAA always vowed against, they're getting a good education. They're getting an education worth X amount of dollars, and they're getting free room and board and 3 square meals a day. Well, don't make it sound like we're in prison, but at the same token, they make billions of dollars off of the name and likeness of players in college. And I don't see any players griping and groaning about it to this day, professionally or collegiately. And high school players see what they have to look forward to. It's a little scary, I think, for coaches, obviously, and for programs because, it's now it's a pro league.
Yeah, and it's constant turnover. That's the
Correct.
thing I think the fans are worried about because they'd have a Harold Green one year, they wouldn't have him the next,
I can't look back, Phil, but it sure would have been nice to know that there was that type of opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again on your career.
Yes, sir.
Everything. You're such a great representative of USC in the football program.
Thank you very much, Phil.
And your family and everybody down at Berkeley.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate knowing you over these years.
I should say Stratford, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
The Lady in Black. She's got a thing for tradition, a hankering for history, and she sure likes a good challenge. Well, when Throwback Weekend comes to town, she'll get exactly what she wants and play extra hard to get.
These guys are going to have their hands full.
Shall we dance? The official Throwback Weekend of NASCAR, May 10th through the 12th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Off to a great start on this Thursday edition of Sports Talk. We're at the Hartness Hotel in Greenville. It's really off of Woodruff Road. You know this area, Chris. Growing area.
And I try to avoid Woodruff Road, as everybody else in Greenville.
Yeah, traffic unbelievable coming out here. Fortunately, they were going one way. I was going the other way. So I was able to miss it for the most part. Got here in good shape. We're at the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. We heard from a couple of the folks, Xavier Legette, the former Gamecock star, Harold Green, the former Gamecock star. Xavier's receiving the Player of the Year award, and Harold's going into the hall. We had hoped to get Terry Allen on with us. We had talked to Terry and others. Unfortunately, we had a very tight schedule, and they're starting to eat. So you can imagine us trying to pull them away from the food. That's not happening.
Football players? Yeah. No, I get it.
That is not happening. I did see Danny Ford and hollered at him. And he looks good as he was mingling with folks. And so I didn't have a chance to see him, and he didn't see me, but from a distance, I saw the great one, the doctor, Rick Sanford. He's here. Of course, he's in this Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So I saw him from a distance, didn't get a chance to talk. So, again, going in, Terry Allen, Ben Coach, Harold Green, Stump Mitchell, would love to have talked to him, and the late Coach Jimmy Satterfield. That is a great, great class going into this hall.
You know, you asked the two players, the former players, what their thoughts were about the NIL and transfer portal and the like for college sports. I would love to have heard from Danny Ford on that because him being removed from the college game for so long, I'd be fascinated to get his thoughts on the current state of college athletics and in particular college football.
You know, I bet you I can't – I'm just guessing here off the top of my head. Talk to these guys. They might surprise you because, look – they worked under a set of rules that was given to them during their era. And their rules were this, and, you know, they followed their rules as well. Some might say Coach Ford didn't follow all the rules. But anyway, they followed the rules as best as possible, and the rules were the rules back then. And did they want to just be able to give players open money and have their and pay for their parents to come in, and if they had to have some dental work done or an emergency done, the school pay, they would have said, yeah, we should have been able to do that back then, but the NCAA wouldn't allow it. And so, again, all that heavy-handedness of the NCAA finally caught up with the organization, and they're paying a huge – can you think of any other organization in this country over the last 4 years that has been defanged more than the NCAA?
Not over the last 4 years. The only industry that I can think that's had its power stripped to the degree of the NCAA would be the tobacco industry.
It's a good comparison.
But that was for obvious reasons, for health reasons. But, yeah, in terms of power being pulled away, I think the tobacco industry would probably be the first one that comes to mind. And I'm not saying that Danny Ford would be against what is going on right now. I'd just love to hear his perspective because somebody who's been out of coaching for so long might, as you pointed out, have a fresh perspective on all of this.
Exactly. I was just speaking to Ramon Robinson. Came walking by. He is known as the quarterback whisperer up here, a guy that works with quarterbacks and has developed a lot of quarterbacks in this state who've gone on to play some big-time football. He's here. Good to see him. Okay, ordinarily we'd be down at Harbortown, but situations developed that prevented us from going to Harbortown, which obviously allowed us to come up here as well. I was kind of conflicted, too. I didn't want to miss this, so things kind of broke the right way, no pun intended, to get us up here to the College Football Hall of Fame, South Carolina Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which means MJ Ward, thankfully, is down at Harbortown for us, watching everything going on at the RBC Heritage presented by Boeing at the Harbortown Golf Links on beautiful Hilton Head Island. And before we bring on MJ, let me run down the top of the leaderboard. You got JT Poston, went out this morning, shot an 8 under 63. And Seamus Power, Colin Morikawa, they are next at 6 under 65. Austin Eckroats, Mackenzie Hughes, Sahith Thigala, Patrick Rogers, Sepp Straka, Ludwig Oberg, they are all at 5 under. So that's 9 golfers right there within about 3 shots of the lead. And then tied for 10th, Cameron Young, Russell Henley, Stephan Jaeger, Tom Hoagie, Patrick Cantlay, Adam Hadwin, and Rory McIlroy. They are there at 4 under 67. Then you got Jason Day in a group at 3 under. And then check some others for you here real quick. Lucas Glover, 2 under 69. Masters champion Scotty Scheffler picking it right back up, 2 under 69. Justin Thomas bouncing back after a terrible Masters, 2 under 69. Jordan Spieth, 1 under 70. Ricky Fowler, 1 under 70. And Kevin Kisner, plus 273. Let's welcome him. MJ from Harbortown, spending the day on the island. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Pleasure is all ours. We wish we were there with you. I know you're having a big time. How was the weather for the golfers today?
Well, I tell you, after you have the Masters, essentially what happens is that in these kind of events, things, it's like taking an 800-pound gorilla off your back. It's really kind of a rest and relax. And since it's a designated event, the players know the drill in terms of payments and what's going to happen. It's kind of really like most of the time that you see with the week after a major, people are able to take a breath and kind of get themselves sorted out for the next run-up, to the next major championship. And, being a designated event, I mean, the event has been at Harbortown going back since, really the mid-1960s when Arnold was the first winner. And it's just a great venue to be at. Clearly it has an impact on tourism and the amount of money that's generated. And I think having the designated event ensures that they get a quality feel following what happened last week at Augusta.
Yeah, the exhale, you're exactly right. And I think that lasts for maybe a day, like today, for the guys who were at the Masters, they've made the move, and who knows how many practice rounds they put in this week, but, get today's round. But, as well as anybody, MJ, the competitive juices with these guys will start kicking in tomorrow and then into the weekend, and they want to win a golf tournament, and they want to win the big purse that's available.
Well, I mean, I agree with you that eventually at some point, for Scotty Scheffler to shoot 2 under par, it's like you signing your name to a check, Phil. I mean, it was easy. I mean, he didn't really have to push it hard. It's tough after you win something that big. You go back to Dallas, and then you have to come back east to really get back into the fray. It's a good opportunity. I mean, a lot of these guys are going to really have to show what they've got. There's a lot of question marks. You mentioned Justin Thomas. Same thing with Rory. I mean, there's a lot of these guys that, when they came into Augusta, there was a feeling like, okay, let's see what we can do and see if we can make things happen here. But, the competitive factor will come into play. Anytime you can win an event on the PGA Tour, whatever it is, tremendous advantage in terms of planning your schedule and your career, because a lot of these guys, now that the tour is only going from 125 players, I think it's to 70 players, it puts a lot of pressure on making sure that you can keep your exempt status. So every time you tee it up, you want to make sure that you're progressing, to that goal, because there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to be around, and they're going to have to go other ways in which to get their tour status back.
So looking at course stats from today, the hardest hole on the course was the par 3 14th, which, of course, is played over water. And there were only 5 birdies recorded there, 50 pars, 10 bogeys, 4 doubles or worse. What were they facing out there?
Well, I mean, one of the things that's really unique about the golf course in general, when Harbor Town was created by Pete Dye, and Nicklaus had a role to play I guess you could say as a consultant, there are tight corridors throughout the golf course. This is almost really the flip side of what you see with Augusta, where you have wider fairways, more elevation change, but at the same time, the precision factor is a big deal. And, a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, a lot of people who have come to Harbor Town, and one guy said this to me the other day, he said, you really don't see the lighthouse until the 18th hole. And that's basically true. I mean, you really don't until you get out to Calabogie Sound, and then you're out there when you finally get through the 16th and it takes you out. In regards to the 14th, the pond is really tight to that golf hole. And the slightest miscalculation, and the par 3s collectively at Harbor Town are probably among the best on tour. So you really have to be geared towards being in the right spot at all times. Harbor Town is really a precision golf course. It's really not about power per se. Although the golf course is listed at 7,200, the real effective yardage is probably a little bit less than that for the most part. But it's really about precision in your play. And you watch the guys that have done well here in the past, that's a big part of their success.
MJ Ward with us tonight from Harbor Town after the first round of the RBC Heritage Classic down on Hilton Head Island. And MJ, back to Scotty Scheffler for just a moment. First off, were you surprised that he's even playing in the event, considering he's the Masters champion and might want to take a week or so off to recover and enjoy and sort of, be flush in that victory? And secondly, with his wife still expecting their first baby, were you guys surprised that Scotty even attended this tournament, much less played as well as relatively he did today?
Yeah, there's always going to be that question mark of, can you get golfed out? Can you be playing too much golf? But because this was a designated event, and I think that the tour wanted to make sure, I think Scotty's doing a goodwill gesture for himself and for the tournament, because you're right, what he could have done. I mean, he could have said, look, I'm gassed out. My wife is expecting. Then I'm going to just have to, take some time away before I really ramp it up for Valhalla, which is going to happen in less than a month's time. So you're absolutely right. I mean, but diplomatically, I think he does himself a world of good for the tour and for the fan base of golf, that he is there. And certainly there's going to be a lot of attention paid to him if he happens to score well tomorrow and gets into the fray. Then what Phil said is very true. Then it becomes a good competitive atmosphere for the weekend.
What do you think it says for the viability of golf in our state? First off, the Heritage has been around for a long, long time. Next month, we're going to have a PGA Tour event at Myrtle Beach for the first time. And then, of course, in 2031, the PGA Championship announced yesterday it's coming back to Kiowa. How much is South Carolina now a major player in your mind, MJ, on the golf scene?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head here. I mean, there's a lot of events that are on tour that have been around a long time. Greensboro is a great example of that. I mean, because it goes way back. I mean, we're talking an event I believe goes back to the 30s, if it doesn't go back even further. But the Palmetto State is a big deal. I mean, obviously the return of the PGA Championship at Kiowa, but Harbor Town, when they were reshuffling the deck here about where were they going to play events, there's a game of musical chairs on tour. I mean, when the music stops, you don't know where you're going to be. And to give you an example, in my neck of the woods, the Westchester Classic had been on the scene as long as Harbor Town had been. I mean, basically they started around the same time, and it had always been held at Westchester Country Club. And then the event went away, and then they created the playoff structure, and Westchester was the odd man out, even though it hosted events many times. But I think there was a lot of good lobbying, and clearly the tourism dollars that are out there. Clearly, this is a very big week, for the Hilton Head area in general, and having the event there. So, you've got to keep your eyes on the prize at all times. There's no guarantees on the PGA Tour schedule that you're going to get your spot. I mean, you're going to have to show that all times. And clearly having Myrtle Beach, having Hilton Head, having the return of the PGA Championship. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, although it's in Augusta, we're talking just about across the Savannah River. So, for many people, the golf scene and the golf crowd in the Palmetto State and throughout much of the Southeast is very much involved in golf, probably at a higher level than many areas of the country, simply by virtue of the fact that the warmer weather allows the season to be longer and people are following, whoever their golf stars are.
Okay, MJ, what's your plans for eating seafood while you're down there? Do you have a go-to? Do you have a particular meal or two that you like to, chomp on while you're down there?
Phil, I'm always of the belief that the press goes wherever somebody is comping somebody. So if they comp me, I have a great appetite. I know there's a number of places. Frankly, I have some people, friends of mine, that live just off the island at Moss Creek, and I have some other friends that are not too far, really, off the island itself. But there really isn't any. I mean, I think it's all good. It's just good to be here. It's amazing what the atmosphere is like compared to a week ago. I mean, it was really charged and intense, and this week is laid back. Yeah, it'll pick up as we get into the weekend, but it's just good to be back. It's a great site. I've been going to the event going back to my days when I was a student at South Carolina. Always enjoyed seeing it, and I've played the course many, many times. It's a great treat to see what it provides, and it really was the golf course that brought Pete Dye on the national scene so people could see the kind of work that he does. So there's a lot of great variables, and I'm just so happy to see that the event is still doing what it's doing.
Absolutely. Okay, sir, thank you. We will talk to you tomorrow night. Birdies, Bogies, Biceps, George and MJ and others. Have a great night and a great day tomorrow.
Thanks,
hey,
MJ.
So let me ask you this. If I give them your name, will I get a table faster if I come here to eat? Will that
you
help?
Will not even get in the door. Don't make that mistake.
Okay, because I was going to say, I know Phil, but then if I said that, I don't want some guy putting his hand on my collar and saying, we got to toss this guy out of here. Okay?
Yeah. Be careful who you, mix with. Or let people know who you mix with. That could be a problem.
It's a pleasure. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Take care, man.
MJ Ward from down at Harbor Town. We have got another golf tournament to check on because we got a lot of locals playing in it. Besides the one at Harbor Town, they're playing a tournament, the Corrales Punta Cana Championship. We'll check that leaderboard when we come back because a very familiar name sits atop that leaderboard. Tell you about that after the break.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Did you know it's possible to avoid probate court after you die, regardless of what you own? Why put your loved ones through a long, stressful public process when there are better options for your family? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
She is the track too tough to take.
The Lady in Black. She's got a thing for tradition, a hankering for history, and she sure likes a good challenge. Well, when Throwback Weekend comes to town, she'll get exactly what she wants and play extra hard to get.
These guys are going to have their hands full.
Shall we dance? The official Throwback Weekend of NASCAR, May 10th through the 12th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Bring them in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com. Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different, it's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Oops.
Yeah, the Corrales Punta Cana Championship. Corrales Punta Cana Championship in the Dominican. Wesley Bryan. How about that? Nice. Wesley Bryan is the leader, a 9 under 63 for Wesley today. So he leads. He has a 3-shot lead on Troy Merritt, Charlie Hoffman, Chan Kim, Justin Lauer, Parker Cootie. They're all at 6 under. They are 3 shots back. And we also have in this event, we got Ben Martin. Excuse me. We got Ben Martin at 5 under. Kyle Stanley at 3 under. Bill Haas at 3 under. Matt Neesmith at 3 under. William McGirt is 1 under. Jonathan Bird is 1 under. 2 gloves. Tommy Gainey is +1. And Carson Young is +5. So we got a ton of locals in that event. Also, we should mention this too. We've got the ACC Women's Championship. Clemson, your defending champion. And the Tigers are off to a good start. They had 1 round today. The Tigers shoot 10 under par. They have a 2-shot lead on Wake Forest, and then Virginia and North Carolina, and Virginia Tech would be next at -5. So Clemson is there at 10 under par. Going low today for the Tigers would be Isabella Rawl at 5 under par, 67. Wow. Good round for her, yeah. And she is the individual leader at 5 under par. So Clemson looking good in the first round of the ACC Women's Championship. We're at that stage. Got a lot of college tournament golf. We got the Big South Championship as well. This is the Big South Men's Championship being played at Fripp Island today. Great place to play golf. High Point is leading, playing their final holes. They are at 9 under. Gardner Webb's at 8 under. They are in. Winthrop is in at 2 under, 7 shots back. Presbyterian is 6th at +6. Upstate is +9, and Charleston Southern is on the course at +13.
Happen to catch Wesley's tee time for tomorrow morning?
I would have to check. Why? Did you catch it?
He's going off at 6:57 tomorrow morning. What time do you think he'll have to get up to start getting ready to make his tee time?
Wow, 6:57 is his tee time?
Yes, sir.
Is that Eastern time? Is Dominican
yes.
Eastern?
Probably
is.
That I don't know. But anyway, the sunrise is at 6:20. I checked because I thought that was really, really early. But
yeah.
I mean, he'll have almost 40 minutes of daylight behind him. But yeah, 6:57. I just remember they were talking about Tiger Woods has about a 4-hour pre-round ritual that he has to go through. Of course, he's got to stretch his back and the whole 9 yards. I doubt Wesley's in that kind of shape body-wise, but good grief. I mean, nothing says golf like a prior to 7 a.m. tee time. When you've got
so obviously he played in the afternoon wave today and did a good job. Maybe that'll be good for him. Maybe the conditions will be docile and he'll be able to post another low score. We can talk about it with George tomorrow night. So Major League Baseball this afternoon, Texas beat Detroit 9-7. Cleveland beat the Red Sox 5-4. Miami and Chicago. In Chicago, that game was postponed. Tampa Bay beat the Angels 2-1. And we got some college baseball as well. Texas A&M and Alabama tonight, North Carolina and NC State tonight, and Florida and Vanderbilt tonight. You got the starting rotation for Clemson this weekend?
I do. Let me pull that up. Vanderbilt and Florida, by the way, already underway and I think they're tied at 2 last I checked. And Clemson is going to go with Tristan Smith tomorrow against Pittsburgh. He'll be back on the mound, which will be nice for them because they can back up the rest of the weekend with Ethan Darden and also Aiden Kanak, who have been pitching lights out. So Clemson's pitching rotation with a healthy Tristan Smith set up very nicely for ACC play.
Super. Mike Morgan joining us after the break. We'll talk some college baseball, Braves, and more. Be right back.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Well, somehow between Columbia and Greenville, we have lost Phil at the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremonies going on tonight, so we'll try and reconnect with him. Josh can evidently see where he's supposed to be. Phil's just not there. So we'll try and catch back up with Corn here in just a couple of moments. 888-898-2525 if you'd like to be on the program with us here this evening. We'll catch up with Mike Morgan here in just a couple of seconds.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there he is. Well, I was trying to.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You were doing what?
I was just in conversation with some people here at the hotel and with Mike Foster with the usually my body clock will tell me when 5 minutes are up. I guess I was a little bit off with my clock. But go ahead, you were saying.
Well, I was hoping to fill enough time so you could get here and introduce Mike because you have his sponsorship liner, which I do not have present on my fingertips.
Well, let's do that right now. We got Mike Morgan standing by for another edition of Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk. Mike Morgan, brought to you by State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary's been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington, Columbia to Blythewood. Auto, home, life insurance, and business insurance can all be handled by Gary. He spends countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs and making a difference in the community. So go check out GaryPatterson.net today. And Gary, he'll go over the best plans for you and your family. That is GaryPatterson.net.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
All right, Mike Morgan with us here on Sports Talk. Good to have him with us. Heading into really the heart of the college baseball season now, halfway point, SEC play, ACC play, teams starting to eye positioning for the postseason and other things that are going on. Mike, great to have you with us. Looking ahead to the South Carolina-Arkansas weekend, I feel this looms large for the Gamecocks playing the number 2 team in the country. Of course, they played number 3, A&M, not too long ago. They've played, other really good teams. But this is a golden opportunity for them, I think, to kind of shape the second half of their SEC schedule and kind of announce themselves as a real contender in the SEC.
No question about it. I think, for my money, this is still the best team in the country that Carolina will be seeing. I think Arkansas is the most complete team. I think Dave Van Horn for a long time has been as good as it gets as a head coach, and yet he still hasn't won a national title. That's going to happen at some point. I'm convinced of it. They've got maybe the best pitcher in college this year, kind of the Skeens of 2024 in Hagen Smith, who has just been devastating to opposing batters this season. And they've got a formidable lineup, and they always just do things the right way. That's just a staple of a Van Horn team. They're always sound defensively. They do all the little things. They rarely beat themselves. So it'll be a very difficult opponent, and you're absolutely right. If you want to make a statement, you win this series, and all of a sudden now people are looking at you in a different light.
Yeah. And the Gamecocks seem to be putting some stuff together now. You need guys, and this happened for them last year, you need guys to kind of come out of the woodwork and be better than they were expected to be. And they're having some guys starting to do that. A Tippett is starting to hit for them. a little bit as well. The winning the series at Florida, I think, is impressive, even though Florida's not going great. Anytime you can win a series down there, beating North Carolina, neutral site, getting a win against Texas A&M. I mean, I see some things starting to come together for them.
I don't think there's any question, and I know there's several tough games left on the schedule, but I look at, for example, to me, one of the best stories going right now is Kentucky, and they're 14-1 in the SEC, and that's phenomenal, and you can't take anything away from it. But if you were to stack up their 15 league games versus Carolina's, there's certainly a stark contrast in the level of competition. Well, that's going to even out over time. Kentucky's second half is much more challenging. And once you get past Arkansas, yes, there's difficult games left. But there's also some series like Missouri, like Georgia, that if there was I guess now there is a Vegas betting line. Just ask the former Alabama coach. Sorry, sorry. Coach Bohan is a good guy. Made some mistakes there. But no, you'd be favored against programs like Georgia and Missouri. So if somehow, anyhow, you could take 2 out of 3, I think there's a number of games that are very strong potential wins left on the schedule where you're not only hosting a regional, maybe you can get yourself in the conversation to host a super.
Mike, you mentioned the pitching performance this season of Hagen Smith, who will start tomorrow night for Arkansas. He's 7-0 on the season, ERA south of 2. He struck out 89 batters. I mean, he has the makings, as you pointed out, of Paul Skeens 2.0 and just looks like a terrific pro prospect. Mark Kingston said today he is shifting up his rotation, actually moving Eli Jones out of the Friday slot to Saturday. He'll go with Roman Kimball tomorrow night. His explanation made sense because Jones has been an inning eater for them, actually leads them in innings pitched. But how much of it is maybe you go ahead and, I mean, do coaches even think that way? Go ahead and concede Friday because of how good Hagen Smith has been, an Arkansas team that strikes out a ton of people from the pitching side of the coin, and hope you're able to salvage the series by winning Saturday and Sunday.
It's a very interesting play, and you're never going to say at a press conference, yeah, we're pretty much tanking game 1 because we feel like the odds are much better in games 2 and 3. But it certainly would lead you to believe that there might be some gamesmanship there. I mean, it's not unlike what you see in a regional. Very often, if you're the number 1 seed, you're playing the 4. You're still trying to win. You're going to do everything you can to win that first game, but maybe you save your best pitcher or your hottest pitcher for the more challenging matchup the next day. In this case, it's not a more challenging matchup, but it's a more favorable matchup, and maybe you feel like nobody can hit Hagen Smith that well. Let's go ahead and stack the deck in our favor Saturday and Sunday. So I could see it both ways. I mean, at the end of the day, Hagen's still going to get a start, and Jones is still going to get a start, and there's still going to be 3 games. So I'm sure King will be second guessed if you lose no matter what. But I think the bigger factor in all of it is still going to be, are you able to play a good 3 games? It's not all about beating Hagen Smith. I mean, that's the cherry on the sundae if you can do it. But it's beating a really good Arkansas team, say 2 out of 3. I don't even think you worry about a sweep. That's gravy. But if you could just somehow win the series at home, that'd be fantastic. And, of course, the last thing you want to do is get swept at home. And Arkansas has the capability to do that to anybody. So you certainly got to be careful of that. You have to continue to play some of that better baseball that you guys were referring to. They've got some momentum now going into this series.
Not to knock them, Mike, because I agree with you. They're as good as anybody in the country. I'll lump them in there with, Clemson and Texas A&M and some of the teams that South Carolina's already seen this season. But how much of it is being able to play the majority of the bulk of their games so far in Fayetteville? I mean, they're 27-1 at home and just 3-3 in true road games. I mean, can the environment have an impact on them this weekend if Founders Park is a sellout all 3 games for the Gamecocks?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Look, Baum Stadium, for those who have never been, it's as good a home environment and home field advantage as there is in the sport. So, not surprisingly, they would be much better at home than than away. But I don't think this is a kind of one-trick pony type of team that, is just a byproduct of a great home field advantage. I do think that this is the kind of team that has Omaha written all over it. And so what you're looking at is a team that certainly is going to have a chance to not only get to Omaha, but maybe win the whole thing.
Mike Morgan on the move with us here tonight. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Under the table there. I believe Phil is chuckling there.
No, I was just waving at Rick Sanford. Rick Sanford was making funny faces at me as he was walking by. So, no, go ahead. Finish up your – I'm enjoying the conversation, so you guys continue. Go ahead, Chris. Follow Mike, up with your follow-up.
I actually wanted to shift gears for a moment because you and I were chatting last week when we had you on because Kentucky still had a basketball opening. So I wanted to get your take now on Mark Pope. And is that a good hire for Kentucky? And also the news that was coming out today, which I just found fascinating, that there was a report that Jerry Jones is offering double whatever the Kentucky commits were to come play at Arkansas now under John Calipari. And evidently Jones had a major hand in bringing Calipari to Arkansas. What do you think of that whole saga?
If you've got the fried chicken king of America and the owner of America's team, that's a pretty dynamic duo right there that Cal has behind him at Arkansas. Of course, that hasn't exactly won them a bunch of titles here lately in football or basketball. So in terms of the hire for Kentucky, look, I think that. They were not going to get, obviously, whoever they wanted to get. They swung and missed on their top 2 or 3 people, depending on who you believe. And if Kentucky can do that, just goes to show you that that can happen to any program with any great capital behind it and any great fan base behind it. You don't just get your pick of the litter when you want and how you want it. So once you swing and miss on the first few, Mark Pope is an interesting hire. Some would say it's a reach. Some would say it's exactly what Kentucky needed. Kentucky doesn't need the circus. They don't need Drake doing concerts. They don't need their coach bragging about how many billions of dollars their pros are making. What they need is to get back to winning tournament games. They need to get back to winning SEC championships, winning NCAA tournament games, getting to Final Fours, and winning championships. And if Mark Pope is all about that, then the fans will embrace him more than you could ever possibly embrace a head coach. And if he doesn't, then people will look back and say, well, it was kind of a reach anyway, and we've got to go ahead and reshuffle the deck.
Well, now that they have a Pope, do the Kentucky fans all become Catholic? Boom.
Hey. Did Rick Sanford give you that joke? Did he lend that to you?
I'm sure that hasn't been used this week.
You were having a tickle fight?
So I want to ask you, shifting gears, Mike Morgan on the move with us here on Sports Talk. Spring football, South Carolina spring game Saturday night. Ole Miss did something different. I don't know if you saw this. You probably did. You watch everything SEC football. So Lane Kiffin did away with the football side of a spring game. They went to fun and games and things like that. Is that the future of spring games, or spring? With this younger breed of head coaches, or will spring games continue to be spring games?
Yeah, as someone who's called a lot of these over the years, what I've noticed over time is the dwindling seriousness, the dwindling competitive nature, the dwindling intensity. And really, it's more of just a show. It's Midnight Madness. Mm-hmm. It's the Pro Bowl, and that's Lane Kiffin took it to a whole new level. And I don't think you're going to see everybody go that far off the deep end. But I do think that we've gotten to a point now where the scrimmages are more intense than the spring game. The spring game is just a 2-hour kind of showcase where the fans can come out. Hopefully the weather is good, maybe a little tailgating, gives you a chance to congregate, and it gives all of us an excuse to talk college football. But the day and age where like true positional battles were determined during the course of those 4 quarters during a spring game, I think that's gone the way of the dodo.
the dodo bird. All right, last thing, the Braves, Spencer Strider gone. What does that mean for them, their rotation? What do you see as a result of his absence for the rest of the season?
I think it's a major blow. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat that. I don't think there's any way, as good as Alex Anthopoulos is, I don't think there's any way to just, get creative and start picking up the phone and calling it, hey, can I go ahead and take away your number one starter and the guy that led the league in wins and strikeouts? Like, oh, sure. We'll just go ahead and give them right to you. Just give us a couple prospects and we'll call it a day. I don't think that's happening. They'll get creative as they always do, and they'll get some guys under the radar like they always do. But you're not getting another Spencer Strider. And
no,
this team is so good top to bottom that they're still going to win a bunch of games. And they'll probably still win that division, which is not very strong. But where you're really going to feel the loss of Spencer Strider is come October, when we're having the same conversation about the Braves' chances of winning a playoff series, and there's no Spencer Strider. And after Max Fried, it looks a little bleak. So I think that's I think without question it's a major loss. And then the other thing is, as you know, he already had this surgery that he's going to have once at Clemson. So we know guys recover after one Tommy John, but how about two? How much do you lose now on that velocity? He just added a curveball in addition to a wipeout slider and a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. What is all that going to look like a year from now off of his second Tommy John? I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't good after my second Tommy John either.
No,
so I can understand that. Wasn't the same. Yeah. I'm talking about the underwear. Oh, you're talking about the surgery. Okay.
Yeah. You're more of a Liz Frank injury kind of guy.
Those are painful, man.
Up, Mike.
Those are painful, Liz Frank. I happen to know both of them. Mike,
I know. She
have a great weekend.
Back in the 60s.
Have yourself a great weekend, my friend, and we'll talk to you next week somehow, some way.
You too, guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Mike Morgan. Say it again. He likes to hear his name. Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move. Vanderbilt is beating Florida. Man, what's happened to Florida this year? 7-2 now. Bottom of the fifth.
Can't keep the ball in the yard.
North Carolina State beating North Carolina 2-1, top of the second. And we'll be back. Going to hear from Mark Kingston. Got recruiting coming up. And some Gamecock football coaches preparing for the spring game. Back in a moment.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Relax. Winter is finally over. It's time to get ready for a season of adventure. Escape the ordinary and get out on the road with an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. From city streets to off-road trails, your journey begins here. Our low fixed rates can get you on the road in a ride that fits your lifestyle and budget, featuring no payments for up to 90 days. You can apply early for a pre-approved spending limit before you even start shopping. Let a Founders representative be your trusted advisor to make sure your purchase makes sense for you and your finances. Ask for a free auto insurance quote for a personalized plan to protect your purchase. Founders also offers mechanical breakdown protection that is competitive with most warranty plans available at dealerships. Head over to one of our 40 convenient office locations or visit foundersfcu.com to apply for an auto loan today or to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, we're on the subject of USC baseball against Arkansas. Big weekend series for the Gamecocks. Chance to make a lot of noise nationally. Coach Mark Kingston met with the media today to talk about that series and some things with his rotation and his team going into this weekend. Here are a few comments from Mark Kingston.
Big weekend. Obviously, they all feel big now, being in the SEC, being in a good spot. So I've got a great team coming in. I feel like we're pretty darn good as well. So anxious to see, hopefully, a full Founders Park, rocking and rolling, and seeing us play great baseball. So happy to answer questions.
Hey, Mark, do you have a pitching staff in mind for this weekend yet, or is that something you're just going to wait on to?
No, we're going to go Kimball, Jones, TBA this weekend.
With Jones on Saturday, is that kind of because, I mean, like Hagen Smith's obviously a really good pitcher, but is it kind of to have like a better matchup for Jones on Saturday, or what's kind of the thought process for you?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now. Eli has been the pitcher that gives us the most length on the weekends of all our starters, and genuinely you would like to have that in the middle game so that your bullpen can be really good on Friday, have a day off, and then go on Sunday. So it's something we've been talking about. We have a lot of respect for Hagen Smith, but that's not why this decision was made. We made it because we think it's the best use of our resources that hopefully will help us win the most amount of games.
With the Friday spot, then, what have you seen from Roman that makes you feel good about throwing him out there, and did you consider anybody else for that Friday spot?
Yeah, we considered a lot of guys. A lot of guys have shown us bursts that they can do it. But we also have a lot of guys statistically that have been much more successful out of the bullpen, and so we're just trying to find the best roles for the most amount of guys. Roman gets the nod because he has a 169 opponent's batting average, which is the best on our team. He's been the hardest guy to hit on our team, and his last 4 outings have been very good. So we're going with him because we think he gives us a chance to win.
Outside of Jones, I mean, the rotation for the most part, it's kind of been like a little bit of a carousel, right? You had different guys come in and out. Do you feel like this can kind of be like the weekend where guys can actually go out there and really try to solidify their spot moving forward? Or is it one of those things where you just continue to kind of tweak and maneuver as the season goes on?
Yeah, at the end of the day, what's most important is we have all this figured out by the end of the season when the games are win or go home. And so we're going to continue to experiment until we feel like we have it 100%. And I just don't feel like we're there yet. So instead of being scared to staying tied to one thing, we're going to try things and see if we can find the best version of ourselves. And again, that's looking at statistics, and some guys just for whatever reason are better as starters than relievers and vice versa. And so we'll continue to evaluate ourselves. We're 37 games in, so we have a better idea of who we are. But we don't have a full picture yet of what the best version of us is. So we're going to continue to try things until we really feel like we have it exactly where we want it.
All right, Mark Kingston from earlier today. All of us on our website, sportstalksc.com. So Kimball will be the man tomorrow night. And, yeah, that's interesting, sacrificing him against the great pitcher from Arkansas. He is right, 169 batting average against, the best on the team. But the deepest he's gone all season has been 4 innings. So you can imagine this is going to be a bullpen game for the Gamecocks most likely, unless he's just – his previous start was at Ole Miss, and he only went 1 2/3, and he didn't – I think maybe he gave up 1 hit, but he walked 5, or maybe he didn't give up any hits and he walked 5. So – you got to figure the bullpen is going to have to play a role for the Gamecocks tomorrow night.
his control has been an issue. I mean, 22 walks already this season, and you can't give a team like Arkansas, who can hit their way on as it is, you can't give them extra bases and free opportunities. The bigger concern, I think, especially tomorrow night going against a pitcher as talented as Hagen Smith, and even through the weekend, but certainly tomorrow, is the strikeouts. Arkansas leads the country in strikeouts per 9 innings, and the Gamecocks have a tendency to go up there and be free swingers. They've got to find a way to put the ball in play tomorrow night.
All right, we'll hit the break. Come back with recruiting and some more USC football looking ahead to the spring game. Be back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear overnight, the low dipping to 63. Tomorrow, sunny for the first part of the day, then clouds roll in later. We could even get a shower. The high reaches 88. For the weekend, Saturday's nice early but rainy later, while on Sunday, it looks like a wet one with afternoon storms likely. I'm Cal Mosh with your On Point local weather.
Ready for an outdoor makeover? You can do it affordably today with Jack Oliver's Pool, Spa, and Patio. We have beautiful, high-quality outdoor furniture in stock, including original Polly's Island, CRP, our recycled polymer line, great options from Kingston Casual and Telescope Casual too. Make a high-end statement without the high-end price. And remember, we deliver in Richland and Lexington counties too. Jack Oliver's Pool, Spa, and Patio, 3303 Forest Drive, jackoliverpools.com.
Keith Peters reporting House congressional leaders are toiling on a delicate bipartisan push towards weekend votes to approve a $95 billion package of foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, as well as several other national security policies. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson this week set in motion a plan to advance the package, which has been stymied in Congress since October of last year by a bulk of GOP lawmakers resistant to approving more funding for Ukraine's fight against Russia. The Senate has advanced legislation that would reauthorize what supporters say is a key U.S. surveillance tool as lawmakers and the Biden administration rush to tamp down fresh concerns about the program violating American civil liberties. On Wall Street, the Dow by 22 points, the Nasdaq dropped 81. More details at srnnews.com.
Every month you get a power bill, and every time you look at it, you realize you have very little control of that bill. If you want to take some control, it's time to reach out and talk to the folks at Broker Solar. Listen, solar power is not for everyone. It is a commitment, but the rewards are well worth it, not because of the politicians and the media and the green this and the green that. Nah, it's worth it because it'll save you money on the long term. It'll give you control of your power bill, and there are some great tax advantages available. But you know what? You need to do your homework. Don't get fooled by the guy putting lawn signs in the grass offering something too good to be true. I have known the owners of Broker Solar for more than 20 years. I trust Ken and his team, and I believe you should too. They are local. They are legitimate. I've been to multiple homes where they've installed solar power. The technology is phenomenal, and I am a believer. See for yourself. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or call Ken at 807-7417. That's 807-7417. It's Broker Solar.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven-baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
As we celebrate 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey, Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our expert non-commissioned techs for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at sweethvac.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
Experience the joys of spring in full glory as you cut through the beautiful waters of Lake Murray on board your brand new boat from Marine 360. Take a look into the awesome selection of top-tier industry brands such as Sea Hunt and Crest. They're showcased at Marine 360. Hey, known for their unwavering commitment to excellent quality and service, Marine 360 has been the leading go-to source for boating enthusiasts since 2007, and they're based right in the heart of the Midlands. The dedicated owners of Marine 360, Brandon and Scott, well, they're on hand to steer you towards your dream boat. They make it a top priority to ensure you receive the best possible service. But they don't stop at helping you choose the perfect boat. Marine 360's meticulously skilled service center is at your command for any boating-related issues. Find Marine 360 on the water on Johnson Marina Road or visit them online, marine360sc.com. To make your purchase even smoother, they offer a variety of financing. You need more information? Don't hesitate to give the guys a call, 749-2360. They're ready to help in making your dream boating experience a reality. Visit marine360sc.com.
All right, time to give you the recruiting report tonight, brought to you by Seawells. Hey, Seawells, Daily Luncheon Buffet. You know what tomorrow is. I think it's Friday. I think it's a roast beef Friday over at Seawells. So we recommend highly that you get there and you get there early and you make plans to stay for a while. Don't rush yourself. You know, eating in a hurry is never a good thing. Take your time. Enjoy the surroundings. Enjoy the succulent nature of the food. You know, don't rush yourself. It's not good for you. It's unhealthy. So the point is, go there, make plans to hang out, and have a great lunch. 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. And tomorrow, of course, is the very famous Roast Beef Friday edition of the Daily Luncheon Buffet over at Seawells. And you're looking for the very best, of course, from a catering standpoint. You just give Seawells a call. Let them handle it all for you. 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So, South Carolina linebacker Justin Rowe, 6'3", 210. He's a Canadian attending the Asheville School in North Carolina. Told us last night he plans to announce a commitment soon. He said it would happen by next Wednesday. Now, you know, keep in mind these deadlines are very flexible. Could come down as early as this week. Rowe revealed his plans not long after a conversation, which included his parents, with USC defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Clayton White. He said, quote, South Carolina's definitely in the mix, very high in the mix. I'd say South Carolina, Virginia, Wake Forest have been showing a lot of love. The conversation was more my parents asking questions about academics and help with that. How long they've been coaching there and their experience. It was all positive things, I'd say. He credited White for having the Gamecocks right there in the mix because he's been recruiting him for a while and been recruiting him hard. He was there on a Sunday, not to watch a practice with his parents, but to visit with White and visit with Shane Beamer and get a tour of the campus. This was a recent Sunday. He can't make it in for the spring game because he's got other things going on. He in April, he also went to Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Duke. In March, he stopped at Vanderbilt, Virginia, and Georgia. He does have officials scheduled: North Carolina, June 7th, Virginia, June 14th, and USC, June 21st. Last season, he had 31 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Of course, keep in mind, Saturday, because there's a Beamer commitment alert that's already been out, it's expected to be acknowledged on Saturday by Kendall Daniels, safety out of Norfolk Beach, Virginia, or Norfolk, Virginia. Maybe it's Virginia Beach, whatever they call it down there. Look for that on Saturday. Is Rowe going to do something with somebody prior to that or after that? We'll have to wait and see. Former USC signee, defensive end Zay Hardy, who's at East Mississippi Junior College, was offered by South Florida. Coastal Carolina safety, can I get a flush or two here? Coastal Carolina safety Tavin Jackson is transferring. He is being flushed out of the program. What do you recall about him?
Not a bad defensive back. I think that'll be somewhat of a loss for Coastal, but you know how it is. I don't know, Phil. I really don't anymore.
Yeah.
I just go out there and watch the kids that are on the field at the time and try to enjoy it while they're there.
Yeah. Yep.
You just never know.
I understand. This is a big national story. Just came out a few minutes ago. You kind of have to chuckle because this guy's been in the middle of NIL and transferring and all that. Arizona State quarterback, and this might take a double flush, Josh. Arizona State quarterback Jaden Rashada, who originally was headed to to Florida. Wasn't he going to Florida? Mm-hmm. I think originally he was going to Florida.
He started off he was going to go to Miami initially, remember, and he was going to get about $10 million in NIL money there, and he denied that, and so pulled his name away from Miami. Then was going to go to Florida for, $14 million, and evidently that was not the case, and because that fell through, he decided to go to Arizona State for what you can only assume would have to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million, considering the gradual increase in his money.
Yeah. Well, he's leaving Arizona State. He is in the transfer portal, John, so he's on the move again. I'm telling you, I get it again, and I'm not going to sit here and bellyache every time something like this comes up. I get it. It's the way of the world now, but doesn't it say something about your character somehow, some way that you're constantly making these moves? Does it say anything? Does it question your character anymore? Now, somebody will say, well, does it question the character of a coach for up and moving?
It does.
Do we question the character of these players?
I think it's only fair to at least ask that question. And my other question is, if he's still in college and the NCAA is going to now try and hammer Florida for their recruitment, and if they did give him an inducement, which I think we all understand they probably did, why isn't the kid culpable in some of this? I mean, if somebody brings me a stolen car and I drive it around town, I'm still as culpable in the crime as the person who stole the car, right? I've received stolen goods and I'm using them. Well, if you've got money from Florida and now Florida's in trouble with the NCAA because they used that money to get you to sign there and you didn't sign there and now you've gone off to another school, I think the penalty should follow him and not necessarily be all on Florida. Now, Florida should be in trouble, but heck, they're not the only school that's out there using NIL money to try and hire these kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about time the players take some of the responsibility for what goes on here. What do you think? Yeah.
I agree.
Out of Woodbury Forest, would this be Virginia? Yeah. Listing Zion Roads, Virginia. Dajir Carter, wide receiver, 6 foot 180, plans to be at South Carolina on Saturday. Last season he had 46 catches, 1,043 yards, caught 14 touchdown passes. So up-and-coming wide receiver, plans to be at South Carolina for their spring game on Saturday. Let's see. From the Big Spur, USC basketball coach Lamont Paris and his entire staff went to Tuscaloosa and met with portal target Nick Pringle this morning. So that's got to be weird to go on another SEC, another conference rival's campus now to go recruit one of their former players. But that's what you got to do. The question is, Chris, will the Wofford big man pipeline to South Carolina continue?
Well, if they get as fortunate as what they were able to land in B.J. Mack, I'm sure Lamont Paris would love for that to continue because Mack was a major contributor for them this year.
Yeah, and Pringle impressed me in the NCAA tournament. He'd been, he's had some injuries, he played through injuries in the NCAA tournament. And when they lost another player, he had to step in and start. I think he mostly was coming off the bench for Alabama. But he's a guy inside who can do some damage, and he really surprises you at the foul line. He was like a 55% shooter, but he made some free throws in the NCAA tournament during crunch time that were just huge. He's got a very unusual shooting form. Basically, it's a one-handed shooting form.
Yeah, it's a terrible-looking shot, but it goes in.
It does go in. All right, I think we have wrapped up the recruiting report for tonight. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate – oh, wait a minute. No. I do have a couple of things I want to catch up on from last night that I didn't mention just to wrap it up. So from last night, I didn't get a chance to mention this, I don't believe. Defensive tackle Bryce Jenkins of Washington, D.C. said an official with USC for June 14th. He's also got Maryland June 17th and Tennessee June 21st. 2026 safety Jazavian Currents of South Point. 2026 offensive tackle Desmond Green of Timberland. They were at Georgia for their spring game Saturday. 2026 receiver Jordan Ginron of Ridgeview was offered by LSU. South Carolina commitment, wide receiver Brian Rowe from Concord, North Carolina, was offered by Georgia the other day. Better keep an eye on that. Charleston Southern basketball. Charleston Southern signed 6-foot Keenan Wilkins, Hendersonville, North Carolina. Wofford signed 6'8" Cannon Richards of Marietta, Georgia. And USC target 6'8" E.J. Walker has set an official with Wisconsin for next weekend. He was at South Carolina earlier this month. The Clemson women signed 6'2" Belmont transfer Tessa Miller, second-team all-conference this season, 14.6 rebounds per game. Columbia native 6'4" K.J. Green, who attends Pace Academy in Atlanta, committed to Tulane. He had been signed with UCF, but he got his release. And former PC guard Marquise Barnett is transferring to Kent State. That, ladies and gentlemen, completes the meaty, juicy, delicious recruiting report brought to you by Seawells.
Well done.
All right. I'm going to let you take it over for a little bit. Thank you. Thank you very much. Because you were on top of the Gamecock coordinators talking today on the offensive and defensive side. Dowell Loggins on the offensive side, Clayton White on the defensive side.
Josh, I tell you what, let's go to the offensive side and let's hear from Dowell Loggins first. Before we get to that, though, Phil, we've got to circle, maybe hold this over to tomorrow, but the story about Notre Dame evidently violating Section 8 of the NLRB Act by allegedly misclassifying its athletes as, quote, student athletes when they are actually indeed employees. We'll have to delve into that when we have a little bit more time, because I find that fascinating, because here we go. Aren't these kids supposed to be in school to get an education as well, along with making millions and millions of dollars? Yeah. Now you can't call them student athletes anymore. Wonder how the NCAA will handle that.
I never have. I've never called it. Again, I think that's just more window dressing that we've lived with for these 50, 60 years. The NCAA, of course, at every level, forcing every administrator, every coach to call them student athletes. Mm-hmm. You know, when we all knew and now have really come to learn they're athletes who happen to be students, but they want to give you and this is part of the big lie that college sports is now paying for. The big lie for 50, 60 years is now they're pulling the back on everything. And everybody's realizing that in this day and age, you know, it can't be done that way. At least that's what the courts say. I guess we were good with it as a society and just let it go for all those years because me, for example, maybe you, others, felt like the scholarship and everything that they got. You heard Harold Green talking about it. Mm-hmm. The scholarship and everything else that they got, that was viewed as a nice exchange for playing college sports. And I guess back in the day when the colleges were not, the athletic departments were not printing money via their television partners, and they weren't making hundreds of millions of dollars, sure. and coaches weren't being paid all this money. Everybody was making a good salary, but they weren't, going crazy. You could get by with that. But as the money grew and the rich got richer and the greedy got greedier, the desire and the push came to feed it down to the players, and I guess deservedly so. When you go back and look at it now, deservedly so. It all started because somebody saw their name, image, and likeness on a video game and wondered why is my name and likeness being used and I'm not getting any money from it.
And we've gone so far down the road past name, image, and likeness, it's hysterical now. But I could not believe that I actually saw in print that the NCAA has been misclassifying its athletes as student athletes for a while, according to the National Labor Relations Act. So, yeah, we'll have to kick that around a little bit tomorrow night. We've got a little more time. But, yeah, earlier today, the two coordinators for the Gamecocks, Clayton White on the D.C. side, defensive coordinator, and on the offensive side, Dowell Loggins, met with the media to size up what is coming on Saturday with the Gamecocks garnet and black game at 7 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium. We'll start offensively and let you hear a little bit from Dow Loggins, because for him, this has been a crazy couple of days, and it's not just because of the spring game coming up on a Saturday. Here's what Dow Loggins had to say as he takes questions a bit earlier today.
Dowell, just looking at naming a starting quarterback, do you have a target date about when you want to do it? And what's the philosophy between, say, deciding in the spring and deciding maybe halfway through preseason practice?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we could probably spend 30 minutes on it. There's advantages to both. We've had 13 practices, so guys have had good days, bad days, continual growth. You're going to have that. The advantage of doing it is if you did it early, well, then everyone knows who it is. It's also, you still got a whole training camp in the summer, so what happens if, one of these young kids are all of a sudden the new guy, is a little bit better because he's been through it all, and the second time executing it, he's better at it. So, you evaluate everything. We've had 13 practices. Obviously, we're not ready to do that right now. We're semi-pleased where with everyone's at, but there's a long way to go with all of that. The disadvantage is this. Most of the time, the locker room knows who the best guy is, but based on practice anyway, or they have their own feelings of that. And to be honest, most of the time the locker room knows before the coaches know, because it is their team. The good teams are led by the locker room. And the disadvantage to not naming a guy is there's still 5 quarterbacks out there, and it's like, hey, who do we follow? Who do we lead? And it's the mentality of do your job. Like, do your job. Like that. Keep the main thing, and worry about the things you can control, and same with those guys. So we're not there yet. We've had 13 practices. We have 2 left. So at some point, Coach Beamer and myself and the rest of the offensive staff will sit down and talk about this.
How do you manage spring practice and the portal when you're trying to add some pieces for the fall?
Yesterday was hard because think about this. You come in and you've got you got to correct the tape from the day before with your own players. And your phone's dinging every 10 seconds from a GA saying this guy got in, this guy got in. Then you got to check and make sure that guy got in. And then you got Pro Football Focus. So you're putting their names in there and you're watching their tape. And it's a constant grind till 1 a.m. last night of trying to get guys evaluated. Because for me, this is my 3rd year in college football. So I don't have this huge resume of players that are in the portal. And all, so everything's brand new to me. So I'm sitting there. Our GAs and analysts are sitting there saying, hey, so-and-so, because they're scrolling Twitter and they're doing all that stuff, and you got to check and make sure their name got in, and you're trying to do everything the right way as well, and you're evaluating, 30 kids yesterday off Pro Football Focus tape and watching it, and then if you like it, you go back and watch a game, because if you just go off the highlight, it's like a movie trailer. Like sometimes the movie trailer is a lot better than the movie, and you go and you're like, I just waste all my money, and you're navigating that stuff too. So yesterday was a long, hard day. A lot of film was watched. A lot of people were evaluated. And it's like that. It's so fluid, and you're going to deal with it for the next 2 weeks on top of trying to go out and have a good practice today and being locked in on what, we had scripted and installed and making sure we're teaching our own players. So it is a challenge right now.
Dal, I'm sure there'll be some things on Saturday that you guys do from an offensive standpoint, but I'm sure there's going to be some other things that you guys don't want to show simply because the game's on TV. I bring that up because when you evaluate what guys are doing in this spring game, how much of it is just simply, execution, and then how do you kind of factor that into what you guys are going to ultimately try to do this fall?
Yeah, it'll be vanilla ice cream, I promise that. I like vanilla ice cream, but not everyone else does. They want the sprinkles and the syrup and, all the toppings, and it's not going to be that. But it's going to be about execution, technique, and fundamentals. Anytime you go on the field, it's important. Every time you practice, it is the most important thing we do. It is the only thing in this program that really matters is practice. It's the only way to get better. It's the only sport. Think about this, basketball and baseball, they play games to get better. We practice 5 times a week to play one game. They play games to get better. So that's why it's really important for us. So it is an opportunity to, I guess we're doing a draft and we'll split up so people will be playing with different people and those things, but it'll be more about technique, fundamentals, making sure we're executing our simplest form of offense.
Got a couple for you. One, Shane said Tuesday that you were probably going to call plays for both teams that hadn't decided yet. Is that going to be happening?
We'll talk about that later. That's still not been decided. I literally, between portal and practice, like Saturday seems like a year away.
And then kind of know you said it's technique, it's fundamentals, it's that kind of thing, but what would be a successful spring game for you? Is there anything you're kind of looking to see specifically?
That we got better. It's like one more opportunity to get better, make sure that we've improved in an area that we weren't great at on Tuesday, Thursday. We've got a small practice tomorrow as well. But that's really what we're looking at is like the individual steps to get better. And like this is the ultimate team sport, but there is an individual. The only way to make the team better is to improve yourself and making sure that each guy is getting a little bit better than they were the day before.
Dell, last spring, I guess there might have been some questions, concerns about the running back position just because there weren't a lot of known guys.
Yeah.
This year, you got some known guys, but Rocket's not playing in the entire spring. So how did this spring and last spring kind of compare for you from the running game standpoint?
Last year was hard for me because I didn't know anyone when I got here. I mean, we played the South Carolina. They came to Fayetteville one day and we played, but I knew I knew who Spencer Leggett was. At this time last year, no one knew who Xavier Leggett was. So Oscar, obviously being from Arkansas, I had a little bit of familiarity with him because he's from Little Rock, and and obviously being with Rocket for 2 years and knowing what type player he is, we all know what he's put on tape that way. So there's still some things of like young guys developing as well, and making sure like Juju being hurt creates opportunity for other people to make sure they get a little bit more rep. And Jawarn is a very new player and is a very raw, talented guy that we have to continue to get better every day. And every day he does something, that's a new experience for him. And he's with Juju down, Rocky down, and both guys have played. And that's like it's almost an NFL mentality. Like when we had Darren and Felix at Arkansas and Peyton Hills, like Coach Nutt had those guys in green jerseys. They didn't practice. Like Darren and Felix never got touched. Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, they were in green jerseys and bubble wrap over there. And that's kind of where Rocket and Juju are right now. But now that DJ Braswell, Jawarn Howell, Oscar, like it's unbelievable opportunity for you to get more reps. And we got 2 walk-ons with Nate and Larry getting reps that, normally they're getting the very minimal reps, and they're actually getting a chance to prove themselves and get better. So there is some advantages to those guys not going because we do know those guys. And those 2 guys need to protect their bodies have played a lot of football as well, but they have resumes, so we know. And getting these other guys reps is definitely going to help them. So we know a little bit more about those guys. And we've had a couple live situations, which for running backs, you really can't tell until you put the ball down and it's live because like, does he break that tackle? Does he make that guy miss? Like, you guys have been at practice, and everyone's like, the defense is hooping, hollering, and like they're saying that stuff with Lenoris and Robbie, and all of a sudden when it's live, it's like, last Saturday Robbie or Lenoris shrugs, like the defensive end's about to go hit him, and like he shrugs him off and takes off running. It's like watching KJ 2 years ago at Arkansas. But so there's different things like when it's live that you get to see from these running backs, which has been good.
All right, there you go. Dal Loggins, USC offensive coordinator. We'll save Clayton White and hear from him tomorrow night. So, Chris, with the Gamecock spring game approaching and Lenoris Sellers apparently the odds-on favorite to emerge as the starter, but I don't know how much we'll see Saturday, how much of the playbook, probably not much.
He just heard.
Yeah, pretty plain.
I was going to say, you just heard Dal Loggins say basically nothing. He said it will be vanilla. And if that is indeed the case, then you start thinking, well, maybe Lane Kiffin wasn't totally off base. Now, I get it, having Joey Chestnut show up for your spring game, probably a little far-fetched for a hot dog eating contest and a dunk contest where the kids might get hurt. But you start to understand why coaches are getting away from the spring game, the scrimmage, as Mike pointed out, because it really these guys are so afraid to put anything on tape in March or April that may come back to haunt them in August and September, which I think is ridiculous on its face value. But nonetheless, I mean, Dal Loggins talking about it'll be as vanilla as it can be. We're not going to show a thing. So, from a fan's perspective, why would I want to show up?
But the fans are going to show up because they believe that helps the program with recruiting. They want to have as many people there as possible, blah, blah, blah. But do you want a crappy spring game like Clemson had? Well, I don't want to say – Clemson had a pretty crappy spring game for the most part. Their first 2 quarterbacks were terrible. And so the number 3 quarterback goes out there and shines, and everybody's saying, oh, well, maybe he's going to be the guy. They did have some moments with some guys making a few plays here and there. Of course, their defense shined. Their defense looked very, very good. Or do you want a spring game where they're lighting it up on offense and the quarterback's looking sharp and making all these throws and they're getting some – South Carolina, I think the fans would like to see some semblance of a running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you would like to see some long runs. I think most fans, even at Clemson, and Clemson probably a great example, as everybody knows how good their defense is. I think Tiger fans would have liked to have seen their offense execute a little bit better, because you can always fall back and say, well, we were going up against probably the best defense we may see all year, and there may be some truth to that. However, if we can't move it against Clemson, I get it. But if we can't move it, is it because we were going up against our defense, or is it because we've got struggles offensively? I think fans across the board want to see a high-scoring, fun spring game, but it's going to be awfully hard when you have an offensive coordinator coming out. I don't blame Dowell Loggins. I get his point. Yep. But when he comes out and says 2 days beforehand, it's going to be as vanilla as it can be, because I like vanilla ice cream and I don't want to put anything on tape.
No sprinkles. No toppings.
No sprinkles or syrup. Yep.
Well, tomorrow night, more from MJ at Harbortown. George will join us. Birdies, Bogies, Biceps. We'll talk more about the spring game and have the latest in recruiting and everything else. Thank you to the folks here at the Hall of Fame. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.